Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. Very excited to be here. Really a great day. So we are here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Great day outside. We have people coming from a lot of places here in the United States. And also, of course, we have people online. We have hundreds of people online. We have more than 1,000 registrations for people to attend. So right now, I have people that are registered from Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Brazil, Canada, France, and so on. So it's a lot of countries, so very excited. So that's our edition TagoIO Connect Global, where we have the goal to create a network here, inspire people, and also give you training. So it'll be a whole day. Hopefully, you can do most of this day with us and get inspired. This place is really very close to our office, just across the street. And frankly, we have been trying to do this here in this location for a long time, and now we made this possible. And of course, we didn't come here alone. We had very good support from our sponsors. We started conversations at the beginning of this year about this program, and some of our partners accept to come here with us and help us to design this program. So I really want to thank Semtech, RAC, Device Solutions, Comp, CNET, Enablers, Dragino, and Evernet. They are here to share their story, share not only their product, but also meet the people. So I really appreciate the support, and I really hope you have a great day here together. So we are ready to start. And let me introduce our first speaker, Dr. Sarah Glova. Dr. Glova is known for translating complicated or technical trends in authentic discussions. She has spoken from California to Qatar on topics range from business and entrepreneurship to tech trends and smart city initiatives. She writes as a technology journalist for the media group WRL TechWire and previously taught technical writing to engineering and business undergrads. She is now the CEO of her own award-winning media firm, Real5 Media. So I hope everybody can help me here to welcome Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harold. Thank you. I am really excited to be helping to kick off this great conference. I want to thank all of you for being here today. And then for the folks we have online, Fabio mentioned we had over 1,000 people register online. So you're in good company today. For those of us who are here to think about innovation, I'm hoping that we can start off with a shared story. We want to think about innovation today in hopefully a unique way. We're going to focus on customer-first innovation. And to do that, I'm going to tell a story. I have opportunities to work with a lot of startups, and I know that many of you have done so as well. So when I'm telling this story, I think you're going to recognize it. I think you're going to really quickly be able to nod along and say, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Or as I'm starting to share it, you might think, I know what happens next. So let's see if you recognize this story. I'm going to tell the story of Startup Joe. So Startup Joe, his background is mechanical engineering. And when he started his career, he actually worked for an air quality consultancy. So what he did at his job, he basically helped produce air quality reports. These cities would pay big bucks for his company that he worked for to come in and do air quality reports. Well, after a while, Startup Joe starts thinking about this. He's thinking, you know, these cities that are paying these big bucks, I wonder if I could get them to pay me instead. Maybe I could build a sensor. I could build a sensor to help them understand air quality data. They could purchase this sensor, and then they would own the data, right? They would be able to get this data at a fraction of the cost. They wouldn't have to pay my company. They could just pay me. Now, Startup Joe has a little bit of savings. So he decides to try this out. He leaves his company and he decides to launch his startup. So what does he do next? He goes to his workshop, and he gets to work. He starts off with this idea that he can build a sensor that'll integrate into traffic signals. He wants to build into that infrastructure. So he builds this air quality sensor. He loves it. He's having so much fun. He decides to keep tinkering. He develops another sensor. This one he can integrate into traffic cameras. He's really having a blast. He spends a lot of time down there. After a couple weeks and thousands of cups of coffee, he realizes that he has an MVP, right? He has a product that he's ready to share. And so what does he do? Buys a ticket to an expo. Does that surprise anyone? He buys a ticket to an expo. He says, I'm going to show these off. I'm going to show off my new sensors. I'm going to go to an expo. So he takes his stuff to a smart city expo, and it really goes well. He has a lot of people coming by the booth. He's feeling really good. But as the day goes on, he notices that people who are coming by his booth seem genuinely interested in the technology. But then when he starts talking to them about pilot projects, they don't seem as interested. They back off kind of quickly. So here's an example of what that might look like. He had one conversation with the city manager, and she was really interested in the tech. The demo goes well. And so he says, okay, I'd love to show you the options I have for pilot projects. Here's what that could look like. And right away, she kind of, no, thank you for showing me the tech, but no. And he's been hearing this all day, so he says, do you mind, can you help me understand, why aren't you interested in a pilot project? I've seen cities like yours pay so much money for companies to come in and do air quality reports. Why don't you want to own this data? And she said, well, to be honest, if we had that much data about air quality, we'd have to do something about it. She said, I have a pretty small team. I don't think my department right now can handle having to deal with air quality response, feedback, projects. That's more data than we want. We would rather hire those companies when we want that data than just having it all the time. So, he's taken back, a little disappointed, but he's glad he asked. The day goes on. He continues hearing the same response. Now, toward the end of the day, he's getting a little frantic. Startup Joe spent a lot of savings and a lot of time developing these sensors. He needs to leave this expo with a pilot project. So the next conversation, he decides he's going to figure this out. And luckily, it's a CIO of a pretty good-sized city. They start a conversation. It's going really well. Tech demo goes really well. He asks about a pilot project, and the CIO says, it's really not a good time. And at that point, Startup Joe is like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to remortgage my house. Can you hear all the worries that Startup Joe is having in his head? I'm seeing some nods. Some people are familiar with these thoughts. So he calls the CIO back, and he says, can you please just help me understand, what would it take to do a pilot project with your city? All cards on the table, I'm a little desperate. I can't pay you to do a pilot project, but I'm close. Like, what do we need to make this happen? And the CI says, it's just really not a good time. My city is experiencing a lot of traffic congestion. And if we had that much data about air quality, it could disrupt citizen support for the kinds of highway expansions and road expansions that our city's focused on right now. So there's really nothing you can do to have a pilot project with us. It's not a good time. So Startup Joe is pretty much having the worst day of his life at this point. He's decided that when he goes home, he's going to sell his house and live in a van. I mean, he's really hit rock bottom as he's packing up for this expo. But then something happens. The gentleman at the booth next to him kind of shouts a question over. He says, hey, man, I heard you talking about your sensors. Could one of them work with a security camera? And at this point, Startup Joe would be like, yes, I'll do anything. But he said, I think so. I have a sensor that works with a traffic camera. I'm sure that I could adjust it to work with a security camera. Can you tell me what you're looking at? And it turns out the booth next to him, it's a construction company that focuses exclusively on the kinds of building development projects that are green, that are sustainable. They're known in the industry for being a sustainable builder. And so the CEO says, I could really benefit for having an air quality sensor that could measure particulate matter, and I have security cameras all over my construction site. if you could integrate with those, that would be a huge competitive advantage for me. And so at the end of the day, thanks to his booth placement, Startup Joe does leave with a pilot project. Now, did anybody recognize aspects of this story in other startup journeys that they've seen or heard about? Especially the part where the founder waited until the expo to start talking to customers? Anybody recognize some of this? Okay, I see some nods. So what I love to say when I work with startups is this 3 things money can't buy, and I know many of you have heard this. 3 things money can't buy. 1 is true love, 1 is true friendship, and 1 is true product market fit. And what's great about this metaphor is 1, it's true, but 2, all 3 of these things are things that require continued attention, right? If you have a spouse or a partner, you're never gonna hit that peak marriage point where you're like, man, we are good. I'm gonna put this on the shelf now and not talk to you anymore and keep getting the same benefits because we just hit peak marriage, level 10, we're good. I don't have to invest in this anymore. Same with our friends, right? If we wanna keep getting the benefits out of our friendships, we have to see our friends, we have to talk to our friends. With true product market fit, same thing. We have to continue to talk to our customers. We're never gonna hit this part where we're like, got that relationship nailed, don't have to continue having those conversations. Another reason I love bringing this up at conferences like this is because today I know that I'm gonna hear some of these talks and I'm gonna start getting excited about the technology. Do I have any tech nerds in here? Right? We start hearing about this technology and we get excited. But the truth that we all know to be true is that the technology alone isn't enough. You can have the most advanced, technologically sound product in the world, but if it doesn't solve a real problem, it might as well not exist. And so conferences like these are a little dangerous for me because I start thinking about what could be done, what could be built. And sometimes I forget to ask that question of what problem am I trying to solve? And I know we're not alone in this. As I mentioned, I've seen countless startups kind of wrestle with this same issue, this same challenge of here's what the technology can do. Well, great, but what problem is it solving? And so I'd encourage you to think about that for yourself today. What does this look like for you, for the organization that you're working with, the products you work with, the teams you're working on? It's something that we can all refocus on. We might know that it's important to talk to customers, but that doesn't mean we always remember to talk to customers or to integrate that into our plan. So this is our reminder to kind of set our focus for today. I also love this point about digital transformation and innovation. When Fabio and I connected before this conference and we talked about what this day was going to look like, we talked about innovation as a buzzword. It just seems like it's everywhere right now. And I do have organizations that come to me and say, we'd love for you to come and talk about innovation. I'm like, great. What do you want to talk about? Innovation. Okay. What about innovation? What are you hoping to do? We want to innovate. Great. Okay, we've got some work to do. And so at that point, we look at, what does innovation mean? What does it mean to this organization? What does it mean for the teams? And when I was talking with Fabio, I walked away with this idea that, for TagoIO, innovation really does equate to this customer discovery, putting customers first, trying to identify how they can get feedback from customers. And so that was the theme that we went with today. And as I was talking to startups and exploring this talk, one of the things that kept coming up for me was, yes, innovation is key, but if it's driven by this passion for putting customers first. And so I continue to see that the world's most innovative companies are the ones that can adapt rapidly to real need, to customer need or marketplace need, and adapt and bring those IoT solutions. But they're making sure that it aligns with a true customer need. Now, when I was doing this research, I noticed 3 trends, so I'm going to share those 3 with you quickly. The first is that the customer-first innovation teams that I observed, one of the things that they do is they talk to their customers a lot, like more than you would think. Like however much you think they're talking to their customers, they're doing it more than that. They're talking to their customers constantly. And sometimes it looks like putting on a big conference. You can hear your customers' feedback, but sometimes it's just that they're behind the scenes in their dashboard and they're looking at how their customers are using the tool, and then they're following up with them and asking them questions, but they're talking to their customers a lot. They're also expecting to adapt. They're not making assumptions. They're not assuming that they know how their customers are going to use their products or services. They're testing it. Every product rollout, feature rollout, whatever it is, they are getting customer feedback, and they are expecting that they will have to adapt and make changes because they view their customers as the expert. So once they've talked to the experts, they expect to adapt. It's just a part of their process. And then finally, I really like this one. They apply technology judiciously. So they don't apply tech for tech's sake. They're not just in love with the technology. They are genuinely careful about when they apply tech. It doesn't matter how nerdy they are, how in love with the technology they are. They might geek out at a conference like this. But when they go back and they consider their own product roadmap, they're careful about how they apply technology. They're not afraid to apply low-tech solutions if it's better for their customer. They're not afraid to establish partnerships. They're not afraid to not be the one building everything or doing everything from scratch, because at the end of the day, they're focused on what their customers need, and that comes before technology. So I want to thank you for giving me a chance to share these thoughts today. I'm hoping that can help to focus us as we join together for this conference, explore some technology, but also keep that question in the back of our mind. Because at the end of the day, I genuinely believe that it's conferences like this, people like you, companies like yours, that are driving forward solutions that are going to make our world a better place, at least a more efficient place, right? And so I want to ensure that we're looking for those real problems we can solve as we do that together. Now, briefly, let's take a look at the agenda. So we have this morning, for those of us who are online or for those of us in person, we have a lot of exciting content to go over. And then we also have this afternoon. So a quick note about this afternoon. As a reminder, for those of us online, there are going to be 2 tracks. Keep an eye on the agenda online just to make sure if a room gets moved, you know where you're going to be. And then a final note, if you registered, you are eligible to win these AirPods. And so if you're online and you're watching the streaming version, make sure you go to the website and register so that you have a chance to win these. Now, that was the end of my session today, but you haven't seen the last of me. I'm going to be back to introduce a couple key speakers. The first speaker that I'm going to introduce, I'm actually going to bring Fabio back up here. But I found that some people didn't know some of the things about his background when I was talking this morning. So for those of you who don't know, Fabio is the CEO of TagoIO. You're like, I knew that part. Okay, well, you knew that part. But did you know that his company is focused on cloud platform for connected devices that go beyond IoT? You're like, yes, I knew that. I know who TagoIO is. Okay, well, did you know that Fabio holds a master's degree in industrial automation from the University of Santa Catarina? How'd I do? Yep. And that he has his MBA in management and technology. That's a pretty good, you should start a startup in tech. Yeah. Fabio is going to join us now and share some things about architecting for speed and integration with TagoIO. Thanks, Fabio.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some of our experience working for customers, and of course, reading, watching others. When you talk about how projects related to the IoT can be in a success at the end of the day. That's why you talk about architecting for speed and integration. First thing, when you look about the ecosystem, and why I'm bringing this point is because when you talk about the IoT, normally we bring about IoT ecosystem. It's like, it's together. Everybody always gonna say something like that. Yeah, let's talk about IoT ecosystem. So if you try to make a correlation with ecosystem in the biology side, right, in the life. So you take a look from far, you can see the trees, you can see the river, you can understand that something down there. In fact, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of lives there. And these lives are interconnected. There are, of course, small animals, big animals, and the way they will succeed in the future doesn't depend only on that specific subsystem or the animal. It depends a lot about how they interact. If you do, of course, this parallel with IoT ecosystem, somehow we can see the correlation. First, I grabbed this picture from the internet. It's very easy, right? If you Google IoT ecosystem, you just get something like that. Very easy, save a lot of time. It's a little bit okay because there are the 3 levels. Normally, when they talk about the IoT ecosystem, they talk about the sensors. So the sensors are capturing information, process maybe a little bit, and send to the next level. The next level can be the edge or gateway. Basically, it's going to get the information, process a lot, or maybe just pass through to the cloud. And on the cloud, you can do your magic, and you can process a lot of data. That is fine, but what you learn is that it's missing a big part. And the part missing here is people. I know that it's complicated a lot, but at the end of the day, that's what we need to think when we think about the IoT. We need to think that people is going to use your system, and they are going to be impacted by the solution that you create. So everything that's done in the system really needed to be well designed around the people. By talking with people and also by supporting customers, small and also big customers, to succeed in this digital economy, we see something that is very common. We believe that to get a success there is important to architect for speed and integration. It's very nice if you think that you can have a plan and define every step on the journey to deliver a project, because that's how you've been taught that we should be doing. But when you go to digital economy, that's very difficult. I would say even impossible to think that you can plan everything. So what you believe is that you need to have a vision where you want to go, and then you need to adjust it as fast as you can. In the past, let's say a decade or so before this date, companies would spend a lot of time building the infrastructure, okay? And why? Basically because there was not much ready to be used. And then they would integrate the services. By integration, I mean get information from other providers. For example, if you want to get information from sales, weather, you don't need to build everything, so you need to integrate. And then only after they would design the application and then maintain the services. And if they have time, they would engage with the customers. Now, what the companies are doing to succeed is that they are trying, since the beginning, design their end application and spend as much as time as possible to engage with the customers. So don't try to go all the way around. And normally they stay there in this loop for a while. They design, they talk with the customers, they add some service, they integrate, and they move from there. They still will need the time or resource to evaluate the performance. And by performance, I'm not meaning only the technical one, but also the KPIs, the business. And then, of course, they still need to maintain. But it's important to change this order. Otherwise, companies are going to spend all the money, all the time they have, just to try to build infrastructure instead of talking to customer. So that's nice to understand. And then you think, okay, and how about us? We want to deliver a platform that can be used by companies to succeed there. So we ask ourselves, so how can we build a tool that will simplify this process? Okay, this ecosystem is very complex, so how can we simplify that and at the same time offer something that's flexible, because it's not that hard to offer something simple that it does just one thing. But as I mentioned before, in an ecosystem that is very complex, we need to offer this flexibility. And we thought, okay, what are the key things that we need to do to provide this? And we believe, since the beginning, we started Tago 7 years ago, we thought about this word, versatile. So whatever you're going to do here should be able to adapt or to be adapted to perform different functions. For example, if you see the dashboard here, that's a real one from Tago. We can deliver this dashboard for agriculture, smart building, smart cities, and so on. So it's a lot of work to do that, but we need to provide that solution because we don't know exactly where the customers will apply and how much variation they need in their solution to succeed in the marketplace. Then, when you talk with customers, the first thing normally that comes to us, a question is, what you offer in terms of visualization, device management, data storage, and normally stop there and say, okay, these represent, in our perspective, only 10%. There are a lot of things that you still need and that we offer. For example, you need a real-time analysis, design scripts that are going to automate your process. You need also advanced data management. We are going to not only control or manage sensors, because normally I used to say that people may not care much about the sensor as we think. They care about their asset. They care about the people they are tracking, their pallets, their car, their trucks, their crop. So manage such information is very important, but should be tied together with the IoT. And there are a lot of other features, security, customization, audit log for security, and so on. So there are a lot of things. So I always encourage customers to take a look about what else they need. Then we deploy all these features to be used, and we wanted to make sure that customers would use this solution and, of course, apply successfully in their fields. And after a couple of years work on that, we see that looks like we're success there. And some reason for that is first, the platform that we're deploying is self-service. That's real data. About 80% of our customers design the application by themselves. Okay, they go online, they get the documentation, they try to understand what they have to do, and they implement by themselves. If they're in Japan, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, sometimes we cannot be same time zone, support them, or even if they're here in the United States or other place, sometimes they don't speak our language. They do by themselves. They keep the data and they deploy. In about 20% of them, we help them because they ask. Sometimes they ask just to start, just to kickstart the project. Then they move forward by themselves. We are today more than 100 countries. And the other thing I think that validated this approach is that our customers are applying the platform in different sectors. We have data here from 3 years, a few hundred, I think it's 350 data points from customers showing where they apply IoT, which business they are applying. You can notice that the data will not sum up, it will pass more than 100%. And the reason is because it's very normal to have customers that are going to deploy the solution of IoT in more than one vertical. For it's rare, in fact, to see a customer that are going to do something just, for example, for agriculture or just for transportation. Normally, it's a combination. They are going to apply, for example, application to solve a problem, smart building and energy. Okay, so that's why it's important to have a tool that is very versatile. Then you think, okay, we're able to deliver this solution and help the customer succeed. But at the end of the day, what is this about? Why they are able to succeed? Is this because of the right tools? because we provide a tool that is easy to build the application, is plug and play in some situations, and others there are more work to be done. But if they go with the alternative, it's much more work. They can go beyond the sensor. I'm going to talk more about this later. They can integrate with other systems. They have a highly customizable and scalable solution. Because it's really tricky. It's easy to say that our platform is scalable. I think a lot of people can claim that. But at the end of the day, to make really things work in terms of price performance is always tricky. And then deploy a tool that is able to run not only on the cloud, but also on the edge. And also on-premise is something that we are already doing. So that's one thing, but we all thought, okay, maybe it's not about the tool, maybe it's about something else like support. I was talking with a customer this morning about how important it is to give a great support, and of course, everybody's going to agree. Even in this world of technology, you see that this world is not so big, right? So people will come to you, will work with you, they may leave, they need to go back, but at the end of the day, people want to be listened, right? They want to make sure that you are here them and here to help them. So we create documentation that's available online. As I mentioned, most of them are doing by themselves. We created the community, the forum, a notification if there is a problem, right away they are notified about the change, and so on. So is that all? We thought maybe there is a third thing. In order to succeed, maybe it's also about great partners, because we are not able to deliver everything. Take a look at the slide that I showed before. We will have partners here related to the connectivity, to the microchip, the sensor, manufacturing, and system integrators. So we created the partner portal to help this so that our leads can go to the portal and ask for help and go directly to our partners. We create a partner program, events like this one, so that people can meet here and raise their voice. And also we create some co-events and training sessions. So which one? At the end of the day, what we think is really about customer success obsession. I know a lot of people talk about that. So it's not only customer obsession, but it's about to make sure that we understand our customers so they can succeed. And we put all these three together. We believe that's about the tool. So you need to deploy a very good, robust, easy-to-use tool. It's about support, so we can give a very good support. And it's about partners. We have a lot of partners that are very active, that we talk on a weekly basis. It's a nice story, at least from our side, I think it's good. We're doing progress. We see customers improving, but we know that it's a long way. It's a long journey. So we are here to listen. You, if you are online, send the comments now. If you are here, talk to us. We want to continue use the information that you get every day as a feedback and move back to our process. Because we cannot stop. Sometimes we're very happy, we do something great, and then next day say, man, how you did that, right? How I missed that. So we want to make sure that you will not only fix the problem, but then you go to our process. We're not a huge company, but we are growing. So you get that information and make it better the next time. So we really want to listen. When I talk to customer, like 2 weeks ago, I had in the same day 2 different feedbacks. One was extremely happy, stay with me like 15 minutes. The other one was not that happy, spent 30 minutes. Right? I think was great, because at the end of the day, I was thinking, this guy that's not that happy is providing me feedback for half an hour. Extremely valuable. Okay, kind of free, let's say, didn't pay them. And we took a lot of action because of that customer. So really appreciate feedback. That's our vision. We really believe that we want to transform any sensor in a valuable source of information for the progress of the society. It takes time. It's not about to get this data to the cloud. It's not only about to get this data and take some action, but really transform any sensor in a valuable source of information. But we have realized that when you share this vision, we get feedback and insight from people that you had no idea. So I hope you really can continue enjoying the event. And now I want to call Sarah again.
Thank you so much, Fabio. And if you enjoyed that, you will get to hear more from Fabio later today. So stay tuned. But next, we're going to invite another speaker to come up. I'll do that in just a second. Before we do that, I do want to say to our guests who are joining us online, Fabio mentioned the feedback piece. Absolutely, the chat and the comments there are being monitored. We also have, there are some people who have been tweeting, tagging the TagoIO account. I said that without stumbling. I just wanted to point that out. They are tagging that account and commenting on the event, so feel free to communicate there as well or leave some comments in the chat and we'll keep an eye there. But for now, let's introduce our next speaker. So joining us next, we are going to have Chris Rosica is coming up to join us. We're excited to hear from Chris. He's a director of sales for Semtech in the Eastern United States, a senior director of sales. Don't get mad at me for getting that, Chris. He is going to present an exciting new LoRa transceiver locating technology that's great for asset tracking. We're just thrilled to have him today. So Chris, thank you so much for being here. Come on up.
Morning, everybody. Can you hear me? So it's great to be here to see some of our partners, some of our customers, and even some of our old reps actually showed up today. So that's kind of cool. But I get the opportunity to present a really cool technology today to you guys, and it's going to be presented in more depth by guys that are way smarter than me at 1 o'clock. But Sarah mentioned innovating and problem solving. I think if you've followed Semtech for the past, well, I've been at Semtech for 15 years, so the company's grown significantly and is really committed to this IoT space. Our ecosystem, if you look at the networks that are deployed today by our partners, Senate, EveryNet, and even Helium, it's been tremendous growth. So the United States in particular has seen growth in the network side. So connecting is easier today than it ever was for LoRa sensors. So, but Semtech's a company that loves to innovate. Semtech's a company that likes to solve problems. And how many people have ever used a LoRa transceiver in a design or know LoRa? Perfect. Tim, pay those guys $20, will you? So we listened to our customers, like Sarah said, and some of our customers said, you know, guys, it'd be really, really cool. We love the fact that we can transmit data for miles and save battery life, but it'd be really, really cool if you could do tracking of assets and not use GPS. And we're like, seriously? Come on, guys. But we got a lot of smart guys at Semtech. They came up with this product line. Is that advancing? No? I don't know. No, it's showing up on here. There we go. Okay. Is that right? Hold on, back up. Yeah, okay. So LoRa Edge, talk a little bit about LoRa Edge. So we have a new platform based on a part called the LR1110. And these are the problems we solve with LoRa Edge. Basically, indoor and outdoor locationing, asset traceability, geofencing, asset recovery, and asset loss and theft protection. And if you look at some of the data out there, you know, the losses that people get from cargo, from their personal stuff, it's huge. And we do all of this without GPS. So with this new device, we can offer you, we have data to support 10x battery life over a GPS solution, which is pretty incredible when you think about, you know, being able to track something and save that much battery life. So if you have a product that needs a long battery life and one pretty good accuracy, we should chat. Tim Sloper, our FAE in the back, one of the applications we won was a prisoner tracking bracelet. And Tim's actually wearing one today. He could show you his prisoner. But if you stop by our table over there, Tim has a great demo. Tim drove up yesterday from Florida and tracked his entire trip using one of our trackers in real time, so you can see how good the thing really works. But if you look at some of the challenges, the market challenges, and basically, there's $50 billion lost in cargo loss today in shipments. And we introduced a new part that's part of the LR1110 family called the LR1120, which is basically an LR1110 with satellite tracking. So a lot of these cargo container guys that lose cargoes and ships, and believe it or not, they're all over that. So we can track assets using, both Wi-Fi, we can use GNS scanning, and we also can do now S satellite tracking. But there's a lot of people that lose stuff, and that's why we're in this business of tracking stuff. So the market opportunity for us, if you look at where the money really is, it's really in transportation logistics, pallets, containers, packaging. We have a company actually putting this in a package, and you basically pay a fee for this package for a high asset tracking, and then you put it back. It has an automatic postage thing on it, return it back to them, and you get the $20 back that you paid for the package. Retail and building for theft protection, shopping carts, pet tracking. Agriculture is huge for us, and believe it or not, people track lots and lots of cows. And we make an ear tag that goes on a cow that does the health. We had a story, actually, a large rancher lost one of his best steer for 2 weeks, decided to go on vacation. He spent $40,000 in helicopters to try to find him and couldn't find him. He came back 2 weeks later. He now wears a LoRa tag. So when you lose an asset like that, it gets pretty expensive. Industrial machinery, contractor tools. These contractors go on sites and lose tools and happen to go missing, so we're able to track those. And then healthcare, beds, pumps, and monitors. Believe it or not, they lose hospital beds in hospitals. Not sure how they do that, but we have a way, since LoRa is such good penetration, of actually tracking this stuff from the hospital inside the hospital with the gateway outside the hospital. And most hospitals, if you guys know, for HIPAA rules, do not want you on their network. So what we offer is a way to get the data outside the building and not on that network. Again, some of the target markets, if you look at the 3 checks, transportation logistics is big for us, as well as in the healthcare space for asset recovery. And then asset and loss protection. There's a local company in North Carolina that has adopted LoRa across the board for all of their retail applications, whether it's theft, inventory control, tracking of employees, and it's based on a LoRa transceiver, so it's pretty good stuff. So here's the device. The way it works is the LR1110, as I mentioned, has a couple parts to it. It's a really good LoRa transceiver. It's probably our best LoRa transceiver today. Great sensitivity. It also does Wi-Fi passive scanning. So it sniffs for Wi-Fi signals, and then it does GNSS scanning for outdoors. But basically, once we get a Wi-Fi scan or a GNSS scan, it goes up to our cloud called LoRa Cloud. Somebody got paid a lot of money for that. And it delivers back to you a location based on that lat long. So basically, you're saving all that GPS, back and forth that you would have to do with a GPS signal by just going up once to the cloud and back down and getting the location. And it can be anywhere, the accuracies are anywhere between 3 and 20 meters. So I always tell customers, if you want to track a diamond, we're probably not the guy. If you want to track people or cargo or bikes, we are the guy. Where do we fit? So if you look at the LR1110, again, the accuracy, from a power consumption is phenomenal. And you do sacrifice a little bit of accuracy over GPS and Wi-Fi. But that's, gives you a battery life of, 10 years versus probably 6 months on a GPS solution. So some of the markets that we're in, as you go to the right, we're kind of the guys this way. Pet tracking, container tracking, pallet tracking is huge. There are a number of companies, a few in this area actually, that manage pallets. Their business is in managing pallets. They manage 5 million pallets for customers like Costco and Sherwin-Williams, and they'd like to get their pallets back, since to them it's an asset. So they track where these things go in and out of stores and back to the manufacturer to be loaded with merchandise. Building equipment, campus equipment, hospital equipment, we talk about. Anything that you want to track with a GPS can be replaced with the LR1110. So this is the device, and Tim and Randy and Shahar will cover this later at 1 o'clock. As I mentioned, it does GPS and Baidu scanning as well as Wi-Fi passive scanning. It is our best LoRa transceiver, operates from 150 to 960 megahertz. It's fully compatible with the LoRaWAN standards, so those of you guys that are adopting LoRaWAN, that's a good thing. It's got 128 encryption algorithm built into it. And the nice thing about this device, for those of you guys who have used LoRa devices before, the encryption keys and device UI keys are in the device. So there's no more having to program keys, which was a pain in the tail. So it's a pretty cool part. And the best part, it's 8-week lead time. I know you find it hard to believe, but it's an 8-week lead time, which is unheard of. Yeah. So you can actually get these things if you do design it in. So our solution is, as I mentioned, it goes from our device, the LR1110, and the customer application to a join request to a LoRaWAN server. And then it goes to our cloud and back and gives you location data based on our cloud solver. So it's pretty accurate. And last but not least, we actually have development kits that you can buy and go try it yourself. If you're interested in tracking anything, I highly encourage you to do this. It's really a cool technology. As I said, if you come to our table, Tim can show you his tracking himself from, he did stop at a few bars on the way, so we track that as well. But it's really, really good stuff. So, and that's it. So please join us, I guess our seminar is at 1 o'clock to a more in-depth dive on the LR1110, the LR1120. And if you have any asset tracking applications, we'd love to talk to you. All right, thank you.
Here, stay up here with me for just a second because I'll ask you a question. If I can get a second. Let's see. Thank you, sir. So for our folks who are online, because I know you brought some stuff that we can check out for those of us who are here in person, but for the folks who are online, what's the best way to learn more if they have some questions about this?
I guess
with you or your team?
Yeah, I would contact someone at Semtech. Our apps engineers are a tremendous wealth of information for this stuff. So if you're interested, if you're online, you want to order a kit, you can order a kit, and then one of our FAEs will be happy to help you get it up and run.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Thanks, sir.
I gotcha. Thank you. I do have some questions later about the prisoner tracking, not to be this person, but like, can it fit on a toddler? Like if it would, can it size down? Because as you were talking about like the helicopters to find the steer, I was just like imagining other scenarios where that technology might be useful in my life. So maybe we can talk about that later. Coming up next, we're gonna have somebody join us virtually. I'm really excited to introduce this person. We're gonna have Tiago Lima come in, and he's gonna talk about new partner and education programs. Now, before we start this session, I want to mention we hope to keep this one pretty interactive. So Tiago's going to go over some things, and we encourage you to be thinking if you have questions. Now, if you're here with us in person, you can help me ask questions when Tiago joins us. If you're online, we encourage you to consider adding a comment into the chat, or if you'd like to comment on Twitter or other social media, we'll try to keep an eye out there as well. But our hope is to make sure that this is a little bit more interactive, a chance to ask some questions. So in order to do that, let me first introduce Tiago. I do want to mention he had hoped to be here in person. Has anyone had any exciting travel experiences at the airport lately? Yeah, it's an adventure. So Tiago had a similar experience, but luckily he's still able to join us virtually today, so we're very grateful for that. For those of you who haven't met Tiago before, Tiago Lima is TagoIO's CSM, or Customer Success Manager. So in other words, he's responsible for helping customers in their IoT journey, and he's going to be talking about some of the initiatives specifically for partners. So you heard Fabio mention kind of the focus on partners, so he's going to be talking about that. It's actually one of the core values at TagoIO. So with that, let's see if we can bring in, hello there, sir.
Hey there, Sarah. Thanks for the introduction. How are you today?
You're so welcome. I wish I was where you are. Can you please describe quickly the weather where you are?
Oh, very hot right now, for sure.
When you say very hot, isn't it kind of winter where you are?
Yeah, not as winter as there, but somewhat something like that for sure.
I'm just saying, I'm here in Raleigh, North Carolina in August. So when you say very hot, I'm just wondering if we understand very hot to be the same thing.
Oh yeah, my kind of city is sort of like São Paulo, so it's kind of winter in the morning, summer in the afternoon, it's winter at night again. So it's that kind of feeling.
Well, thank you for taking a break from the nice weather to join us. I'll let you take over, and then I'll come back and we can do some Q&A together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thanks for covering, by the way. I wish I was there with everybody in person. It's a very exciting moment for us, for sure, to get this global event and all the partners together. And today I'm going to talk about two very exciting topics for partners. So I would like to thank all the partners that joined us today. So let's jump right to it. So today I'm going to be talking about the developer program and the IoT educational program, which they're fairly new. We're putting this together, and we hope that by today we can make a fairly fiercely introduction and trying to get as much feedback as possible from you guys, especially our partners out there, and encourage new partners and academics and study and students to join TagoIO. So let's jump to it. So again, guys, thank you so much for being there, and special thanks for our partner. There are our sponsors today. We couldn't do it without you, and we couldn't done it with any of the partners that we have today. And it's definitely a privilege to rely on such a great network of partners as we have today at TagoIO. All right, so the developer program. The developer program is something for you that if you are a software engineer and you have the ability to design for different parties, if your company today work on multiple applications for different customers worldwide, then this program may be very beneficial for you. And I'm gonna share some highlights as of why. First of all, let's dive onto what type of partners that we have today. So today we count in 5 fundamental partner types on our ecosystem. The network provider, which brings us the connectivity, the hardware provider, which brings us such amazing device nowadays, the hardware consultant, the consultant per se, which unites all of this together and put us in connection with a network provider or a hardware provider or even an IoT platform as ourselves. So really dependent on the consultants out there. The system integrators, which creates a package. So the system integrator actually has the ability to go to the network provider, go to the hardware provider, and understand the customer solution and actually build this for them. We also have, and finally, right, the software engineer, which we are very excited to present that there will be a special plan for the software engineer because we want to. The key factor is there is a high demand right now for IoT application as new rules and and protocols that needs to get in place right now. So we definitely need their expertise on Tago. We want them to join Tago in this mission, as well as create a career from themselves, having amazing exposure worldwide. All right, so let's talk about some of those benefits. So if you are a software engineer, you're probably going to get pretty interesting right now, but don't worry, I'll share the link below so you can register. So talking about the starter plan. So as soon as you're capacitated and you go through the eligibility steps, you'll be granted 5 months of the starter plan at no cost. And at the end of this 5 months, if all criteria is met, you'll be able to scale at no cost at the end of this period. So imagine if you have a limitation for hundreds of devices that will for sure get you started on this period of 6 months. You'll definitely be able to scale to thousands of devices if you really work your way around and understanding Tago and its core structure. But we're going to help you there because there's going to be training and there's going to be certification for all of those who wish to engage on this program. And not to mention also developer support. If you're interested in our different support plans, please contact us. We'll love to share about them. And this software engineers will definitely have access to the support plans. Also access to our partner network. So if you're a partner down there, you're a device manufacturer, you are a network provider or a consultant, have in mind that if you know a software engineer, someone that knows logic and programming really well, that they may be capable and very well eligible to joining that program with us today. And not just that, but I'm going to mention a couple different visibility perks that is definitely going to get your attention. First, you're going to join our community. You're going to have a certain level badge. People will see you participating in our community as you progress, you'll have higher badge levels, which will get more people's attention. For a software developer, we really expect for them to join the community and engage with customers and users. Because even ourselves, our developers are there on the community all the time, trying to help customers and users as best as we can. All right, so this is, let's dive a little bit on the training module. So it's coming up real nice, guys. So we're gonna have modules separated as devices, analysis, actions, dashboards. This will allow us to dive into all the modules in great detail. This was actually put together by our application developers. So we know that we're teaching exactly what we're looking for, people, what we expect people to know. Of course, all core values and structure values are important. But here in this intensive training, we're going to teach you how to build an application from scratch and provide you the tools and documentation for it. So how do you learn about the developer program? Basically, get in touch with our support. There's a link right here. It's tago.io/partners. You can become a partner, submit your contact to us, and let's get engaged. As this is fairly new, we are interested in getting more and more partners over and elaborate a plan so we can get this going as soon as possible. All right, so I'm actually very thrilled to be talking about the educational program because this is still sort of in the womb of its creation. And at the very beginning, we have sensed an amazing energy for everybody that participated on our survey. So basically, we have shared this survey with technical departments, academics, teachers, professors, everyone that we thought would be interested in elaborating education program. And why is important? For example, on my side, I have a software engineering background, and I always felt like on college, they wouldn't cover IoT as much as they would programming and logic and architecture and things like that. So we would like to emphasize that there's a huge world of IoT right there, and we that are on contact every day, we know the wonders that can be built as an IoT application. So let's jump right to it. All right, so let's focus on our goals here. So mainly is capacitate, inspire, and offer the tools. We want to gather around these group of teachers and professors and academics, and we want to know what they need, what is important for them, right? So what will be the key factor that will make a change on their university, on their teaching method? How can we can incorporate Tago with these principles, right? Because today it's such a seamless experience on Tago. You have a device, you know your network. We already have a connector. It's a matter of minutes for you to have connected with Tago. Now imagine if you show this to a student and you can explain the route. So understand the device, understanding the protocols and communication methods, and understand about security, the architecture, and englobe that. And okay, so we can start from humidity and temperature and jump all the way to a smart city project as we do it today. So displaying that, sharing that with different students, different people, by sharing that with them, we hope that can encourage and inspire them to become maybe a software developer for IoT projects, or even getting them out there and capacitate them for any opportunities that may appear in this industry. And of course, we're offering also tools and trainings, and we're going to work on exercises with the educators to get them up to speed and understanding all the cores and structures of TagoIO. And again, and this is really warm because it was for at first planned by us. We envisioned, Fabio envisioned the educational program for everyone, and then we have this exciting feedback from the public actually giving us responses and thanking us. Thank you for participating. Universities from the United States themselves, Italy, South Brazil, the whole Latin American, actually, in Europe. And it's really exciting. I would like to give a special thanks for everyone that participated. And here we can already see some feedback, and it englobes right actually where we're trying to get to, which is improve the hands-on experience for students, inspiring students through real use cases, and receive the training offered by TagoIO. So if you want to get involved, if you want to know more about this project, please see the link below. It's tago.io/education-program. And we want to have people engaging with the survey as best as possible. And we're looking to put this program uh, up to speed in the beginning of 2023, and it's going to be really awesome. So I would like to share some event opportunities as well. So how do we know all this? How do we stay in tune with all this information that's always coming along? How do we know what Tago is planning, and where can you find this? So we're gonna be on the IoT Solution World Congress on Barcelona on January 2023, and All Things Open that's gonna happen actually right there in Raleigh on October 22nd. Also, please be aware that if you are a partner, and even if you are an enthusiast or already a customer, please be on the lookout for events as we're making and producing webinars all year long, with the purpose to bringing new stuff and getting people engaged with everything that's going on with us. And also Tago Connect events. Be in tune as you can participate, display your brand, show your partnership, um, and engage with us too. So that is all for me, everyone. I would like to thank everybody's time. Thank you, Sarah. And please welcome if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Tiago. I actually have a first question for you. I came prepared.
Oh, good. All right.
So when I was watching your presentation, the thing that I was most excited about was the education programs. I used to teach at NC State. I think I've seen a couple other Wolfpack grads or proud parents here today, and hopefully we have some online as well. So for me, the education programs is maybe the most exciting thing that I heard. I just can envision how educators can use this program or will use this program. We're all experiencing this crunch of the talent pipeline. So I think for me, that was the most exciting thing. I can't wait to hear more about that. But I wanted to ask you, so as you were kind of preparing this presentation today, all the work you do for the partner programs, what are you most excited about? What are you most kind of looking forward to for the rest of this year and going into 2023?
Actually, the thing that I'm most excited about is to get my hands dirty. Is just to get out there, get the teachers and the students in one place, understand their needs, and try to provide them with the best resources that we have, and try to present Tago as also an academic platform where they can learn IoT, where they can learn about devices and networks and connectivity, and understand that this might be a career for them. And there's a high demand out there. So, it's a great opportunity for all institutions and universities out there.
And can you give us a little bit of a picture of what kind of curriculum? So you mentioned that you were excited to get your hands dirty working with the students and being hands-on with the program. For the students who are in the program and for the educators who are learning as well through the program, are they going to have a chance to work with some real-world problems, some maybe potential data that they can play with? What kinds of things are they going to get to do in the program?
That's a great question, actually. We were thinking about something somewhat generic, understanding Tago, our cars, how it works, the ecosystem. But we could also work, very closely with the university and tackle on a specific issue. Some universities, they are doing projects for water metering. Some are doing projects for tracking and location. And some are doing just basic, sometimes Arduino or open closed door. So that's a good point, because we want to understand what is the challenge of the universities right now, what they're trying to teach, and maybe come up with some insights, on our side. And like you mentioned, come with world use cases, right? With an application that you can register users, you can have many layers of permissions, and different sub levels inside of an actual application, and extend this all the way into a real use case.
That's fantastic. As you're talking about this, I thought of a question, and I'll share with our audience. I didn't warn him about this one ahead of time. I genuinely just thought of it. So, Tiago, pop quiz. What if there was an employee resource group or a group at a corporation that they wanted to share this, maybe with some of their junior employees or some employees who are maybe interested in transitioning into the IoT space? Is this something that they could leverage? I know you're focusing on universities and educational institutions, but is this something that could be used to educate maybe folks who are looking to do a career transition into this space or learn more about it so that they can contribute in new ways at their company?
Absolutely, absolutely. As we got so much cooperation from the public, this is actually for them, right? So if they are interested in knowing Tago and getting to know more about its cores, how it works, how we can integrate different devices and networks and create really stronghold applications, that's definitely welcome for them as well.
Fantastic. You mentioned that you were interested in hearing feedback. So if somebody had an idea for a kind of project that they might want to see in this program, for example, they could get in touch with you and talk with you a little bit about that. How would you like to hear from people? How are you hoping to get this feedback? You mentioned the survey, so I think that's one way.
That's a great way, actually, since we have elaborated a series of questions which will tackle specific issues and problems that we know today. But one good thing about the survey is that you can submit your own key point, and we will love if people could do that. If you can find an option, but you thought about, wow, something this would be great with the educational program. Can we do it? So the best way will be through the survey and also through the partner sign up. If you already want to get engaged, you already know what everything that's been going on. I wouldn't lose time, and I would sign for the partner program right away.
And you mentioned the partner program, so maybe I can shift a little bit and ask a question about that. And then I am going to see if we have any questions here in the audience. But for the partner program, can you help me understand, what are you envisioning for this? Like, what would look, if this were to be successful and there was a successful case, what would that look like? Help us kind of envision what you're hoping this program could do for someone.
So the program is actually something that we thought about. Okay, so as a CSM, I work with a lot of software developers every day, and sometimes they don't actually own a company, but they want to help a certain company to get there. They want to give them this nudge. So then we thought, wow, so let's build a program to capacitate people to create different applications for people that really don't have the resources to do that. And this is not just because it's sometimes a small company or a medium or large company. It's just that it doesn't have an arm on that company to work on to have a software developer environment. So with these developers on board, and with the high demand of IoT applications that we have today, it's essential to capacitate them, and that will be the first thing. Get them engaged with the community, and spread the word around, and help people with their posts and their own problems on the community as a partner would, and share TagoIO with their peers, and hope that they do the same. As a software developer, sometimes you're connected with great networks, and it's great to use Tago in that case, because we are gonna give all them these tools and facilitate not just as the many discounts that we will give on their plans, but also get our developers that work with application to teach them, so they will know the roots how to get to a fully developed application for many customers. And what is the good point is that when you join Tago as a partner, you actually have worldwide exposure. There's no limit to where you can go. So you can help someone in Japan or in Europe or in the United States, somewhere else, or even Latin America. So that's the goal. It's to get this globally, and to get people who's got skills and apply their skills on the TagoIO platform.
That's fantastic. I did receive a message just now. Someone messaged me on Twitter and they asked where they'll find you at All Things Open. So are you on the agenda for All Things Open? Are you going to be in the expo area? Where are you going to be in October in Raleigh? Are you going to try to make it here?
I'll try, I'll do my best, but I think Fabio will actually enlighten us better on that scenario as he's planning ahead. And I'll definitely try to join for sure.
I also saw you're going to be in Barcelona, so I am very willing to wear the blue TagoIO polo. I like it a lot. I will happily put one on if you'd like me in Barcelona. Just throwing that out there. Any questions here for Tiago from the audience? Okay, great. Well, thank you to the person who submitted that question online. Really appreciate it. We're going to continue to monitor the online chat, and so if you have any questions, you can absolutely submit them there. Tiago, we're also going to share a recording of this. So for folks who aren't watching live, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you, get engaged with the partner community? What are some ways that they can get into this community?
Fastest way is you go to the TagoIO webpage, tago.io, and you go to contact form. There you can submit a contact message, and that message will come directly to us. We'll answer you as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tiago.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Bye-bye.
Next, we're going to have a chance to look at some exciting innovations with a product showcase. The product showcase is going to start in less than 6 minutes. So we have a short break, a short bio break, and we're going to come back promptly at 11:20. So if you're joining us online, go grab a cup of coffee. If you're here with us in person, I will race you to the coffee. We'll see you at 11:20 Eastern. know when you're ready. All right, we're going to kick things back off, and I'm really excited about what's coming next. It's our product showcase. I've been looking forward to this part. We're going to have a chance to look at some exciting innovation. That innovation buzzword has kind of been trickling around today, so we're going to take a look at some examples. Now, to kick us off, we're going to start together both in person and online with a video. Now, it's a short 1-minute video, but it shows off a really cool use case for IoT in the smart city space in the UK. So let's get started.
Cardigan Castle at the main entrance, there is a footfall counter that counts the number of people that go into the castle each day. The town has a wireless system installed called LoRa, and this is used to carry the information from the sensor in the castle to a central dashboard which is on the internet. From the dashboard, the castle staff use the footfall information to judge how successful a particular event might have been, and then can accurately plan for future events. Over time, the system builds up patterns of busy and quiet periods, and this can be used by the marketing team to optimize their efforts in promoting the castle. For example, encouraging visitors to come at known quiet times, and thus increasing revenue from entry fees to the castle and restaurant and shop spending.
I really like this case because I know Gary. He's one of our customers from Wales, and was looking for videos for this event today, and I found this one, and of course they're using TagoIO, and they have 3 videos. So I right away ask authorization for him, and also from the Cardigans town in the UK, and they approve. I like it because it's not only about the sensor that they are using, it's a lot about getting value for the community. I really thought that's great. Then what I want to talk now is about the user case and how the tools can help you to deploy solutions. I'm going to just talk about 2 user cases here, and then I'm going to go a little bit deep on the tool itself. I think that's very important, right, when you put all this together. So one very nice case is about smart agriculture, and you have this case in our blog. What you have here basically is a customer that want to deploy a complete IoT solution for a farm application. And they want to have a lot of sensors in the farm with different technologies and get a lot of the data, and not only deploy a solution, but also investigate what would be the best technology to deploy the solution. So you can take a look at this dashboard. You see that there is not only temperature or humidity gauge or in a chart, but also there is a heat map, for example. So there are overlay on top of the map. And we had to work with them to make sure that they could deploy that, and they got a very good result. It took a couple of months work with them. But at the end of the day, they were able to analyze parameters from the soil. They are inside of a university. They are able to get meteorological parameters. They integrate, and by them, frankly, it was us work with them, were able to integrate with the weather forecast tools. And as an outcome, they were able to get variable rate irrigation. So that's not that simple as I thought, to recommend the best quantity of water to be applied at a certain time of the day for certain type of crop at a certain day of the season. But they got that. Also, they were able to improve power consumptions and the water consumption. And as a premium, at least in my view, they evaluate different technologies. They want to have LoRa, narrowband IoT, and also Sigfox. And they did all that using the TagoIO platform with a local supplier. Another one that I just figured out, by the way, last week, is another customer that used our platform from the Eastern Europe to have as a solution predictive maintenance for electrical motors. And that's a really very nice case because it's a combination of two parts. One is have a sensor with a computational power on the edge and other on the cloud. So they design the sensors, and this sensor is able to measure temperature or accelerometer and get this information, process in real time, and send it to the cloud. So at the end of the day, using the hardware with our cloud platform, they're able to detect failure in advance to optimize maintenance schedule. I didn't know that, frankly, some of our customers are doing applications like that. That's a very good one. How that's possible, right? So if you go to a typical IoT application, we see some components. One, of course, is the sensors. The sensors send information to a gateway. This gateway, as I mentioned before, can be very sophisticated, can do a lot of calculations, or maybe just a pass-through to the cloud. And then one very important component is that our function is we are not only reading information from the sensor, but also we can control some additional actuators in the field so that it's going to impact people, will impact the person. Then at the cloud side, a typical application contains visualization. In the visualization, they can display location, status, they can generate report with KPIs, integrate with a third-party system. One thing that you have learned a lot that is very important to really implement integration, because there are a lot of value coming from other systems. And then they can configure parameters. And the last part we have seen is the integration with the enterprise inside of the company, inside of the business. And make a parallel to our IoT ecosystem that's not much different, right? You have the end device, go to the gateway. And TagoIO will allow you to design the application on top of that. There are a lot of functions that already allows you to connect the sensor with different networks. Like here with CNET and the EverNet, they provide network. They provide coverage or background connectivity. And our system is integrated with different network providers. You can connect using LoRa, narrowband IoT, Sigfox, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. We have these integrators ready to go. And then we have a model called Run. This model is what is going to allow you to deploy your solution to your customers. Because that's a big difference. When you go to normal platforms that you can build the sensors together, you have something very simple, developers can understand, but how you deploy to the end user, like normally I say, how my mom will be able to go there and see things work and can use it easily. Run model does that. It allows you to connect to your end user, to add your brand, and also make it very easy for them to actuate without needing to think in anything about IoT. Of course, you need to have a lot of functionalities to make it work, but is there something cool, useful in the tools that we deliver? And you think, I think so, right? We're going to show here a couple of them. There are a lot of things that I'm going to share a little bit. That's cool, but of course, this picture is not useful. It's not going to work, but here are some that really is going to work. One thing that we have, what you call non-sensor management. Again, have an IoT platform where you can control the sensor, is of course expected, but how about to manage the asset? Our platform allows that. If you want to track a person, want to put the name, information of this person, the picture of this person, we can do with our platform. So our platform manages that. And that's a little bit tricky to communicate. Because when I talk to people, people think about, okay, you guys are IoT, that's only about the sensor. No, you can do more than that. The other thing is that you have a very extensive list of IoT devices. You have around 500 devices that are ready to go, to integrate. Really just need to click, select from the list. If you, for example, use LoRa, pretty straightforward. If you need something different, use TCP/IP, UDP, satellite. The good news is that you can do by yourself by following our tutorials. So we want to make sure that to be very versatile. It's not only about what we want you to use, but it's really about you have a sensor that maybe we never heard about, you can connect to our platform, or maybe you are building a new sensor that nobody's aware. So you are creating something new, you can connect to the platform. And we have a lot of documentation that allow you to talk basically any protocol. The other thing that is very cool, our customers really love it, is to have the ability to generate very nice reports, PDF reports. Okay, you can create something in a table, that's nice, but how about have a chart, have something that really can be delivered for the end user when they see a chart and understand and see your brand there. So we created this possibility. More three things here in terms of feature. One is the multi-language. Of course, we are global, we are software, we don't block people from coming to our website, use our services, so sometimes they don't want to have English, right? They want to have their local language. The development part of TagoIO is in English, because coders, they know enough. But the end user, many times they want their local. What is interesting is that although we thought that would be a nice feature for a language, the same thing you can use it to change the message. You can even use this for English. For example, if there is an option there that's written like, click here, you can change that message to, please click in this button. Okay, whatever. So the point is, you can change how you communicate with your customer. It's very simple to do that. So we created this, and we received a lot of very positive feedback. The other thing is that you have a custom mobile app. We did a lot of progress in the mobile app, and you continue doing. There is a free version that you can use it, and inside you can customize a lot. If you want to deploy on the Apple or Google, we can deploy with your brand as well. And in terms of security, single sign-on, 2FA, password rules, we allow developer to do the setup as well. It's not only that, of course, you have this feature for you, but you can do the configuration for your users. So at the end of the day, I just show here 6 features of a big list of features that we have. And I know that sometimes people don't have much time to think about these details, but we put it together and we try to communicate this as much as possible so you can take in consideration when deploy your own IoT solution. If you go directly in a platform that is offering just the infrastructure, normally they don't talk about that. You need to build everything from scratch. Other than the feature, we create other things that we believe is very important. We just released this year the Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a very nice way to accelerate the deployment of your project. So if you go now to TagoIO, create an account, and by the way, anyone can create a free account and connect 5 devices, create 5 dashboards, and even customize a lot the solution. Again, it's free and free forever. You still need to move the blocks and add the devices. But if you go to a session in our website, Kickstart, you'll be able to get applications, templates that are ready to go. So some of the things that you have in the Kickstart. First, it's free. Okay? You can download the code, you can install in your account. There is no fee to use, no fee to install. We have user management, device management. We have also organization management. Think about that. We are going to deploy a solution for a customer. You may have a customer, then this customer have different sites, different locations, so we can manage this organization for you as well. You can get reports and a notification, and you can even deploy your solution with a plan. For example, you can deploy your solution and provide for customers in 3 plans, like gold, silver, and free. So our system manages that. Just have in mind that this is a kickstart. So you can use as is, and as you need to change, you can add it, and then what you believe is that people will use that to differentiate from the competition. So we really expect people to use and change as they need. What you can do with that? There are some applications that we already make much easier to be deployed. The first one, the real-time location system, that basically a system to track assets indoor and outdoor, so have some hardware that's already connected. Freeze supervision, it's possible to track temperature, humidity, and other parameters. Safety, for example, the push button notification system for people. There are some devices ready to go, so you press a button, our system recognize the request and activate alert locally, and they also send this to the cloud. Leak detector, and solutions for energy, water, and gas. I don't want to give the impression that everything is complete the way we're thinking, but it's a very good way to start, very robust, using the libraries that are available at no cost. At the end of the day, this is about save a lot of time. Let me give you one example of this kickstart. Company Comp, that's here, one of our sponsors, will be presented this afternoon, more details, and they have a table the other side. They create a kit. They sell hardware for based on LoRa One technology for temperature, humidity, leak detectors, open and close monitoring, and the other things. Okay? So in order to get more people involved in their hardware, they thought that they need to have a kind of a kit. So they work with us, so we deploy the Kickstarter with their brand, and then they are able to sell in a box the kit, so that whoever buys this kit is able to open the kit, register, and have a solution like that one right away. The goal here is not only to sell the kit. The goal is that people be very excited to get these things, IoT, working right away, and then they start to modify. Then they can use this account. There is no cost for this account to use. They can modify and bring more leads. So that's the way we work together. Very good example, and they have a lot of information here today, and they will be talking about this kit. One thing that we talked here before is that TagoIO is the IoT cloud platform. That is the case, but it's not the only case. Now we are deploying solutions that you can also run on the edge. I mean, that doesn't need to be on the cloud. Let me tell a little bit about that, okay? So first, before I talk about the edge, what's the cloud? So cloud, why people use the cloud? The cloud is very easy to store the data, process the data, and connect. But there are some considerations. Because if you want to keep the data locally, you can do a lot of a process with no cost, basically a very small cost. If you want to add a lot of intelligence, normally you do this on the cloud. Very nice. But what are the challenges? One thing is the latency. Maybe a problem or not, but you have a latency. Other things that there is connectivity cost. If you send a lot of data, you need to pay somewhere in the middle. And also, in some situations, may have problems with privacy and security. Some companies say, okay, that's great to send it to the cloud, but I want to keep inside of my company. But why you use the cloud today anyway? Okay, first, fair is easy to use, right? So no surprise why a lot of people are using at certain extension. Unlimited process capability. I don't mean that it's not expensive, depending how much you use, how you use. And also is a nice way to, because centralized, so the life cycle management is much easier. Okay, if you have a problem, You go there to that location, centralize, you update that. When you have a lot of things spread, if you have a problem, you need to update all the firmware. Guys who work in the embedded side know the challenge, right? So decentralized is very good. So we came with the edge, a solution to help in the edge side. It's not only the edge, but we're going to focus on the edge right now with Tago Core. So we can add a software that will be close to the edge. By the edge, again, I mean the hardware that is very close to where the data is being acquired and processed. You can reduce the latency, because if you process locally, you save a lot of time. You don't need to send to the cloud. We increase the reliability. If the internet is down, it's still going to work, right? So that's very important. And you can add local intelligence. But we are not the only thing on the edge. It's really about combining this with the cloud. So you can have a multi-site, so have a little bit of process local and more global. You can have a better life management, and you can distribute this architecture. So why that's important? One way is because you can improve the performance. The value of the information, depending on the application, will change according to time. So if you send me information now and I take this only 1 year later, maybe that doesn't help much, right? So if you go to the data side, it's the same thing. We don't want to take minutes, hours to get that data, because the value of data will reduce. So if you are faster, you'll be better, you'll gain more value from the data. Other advantage to have something processed locally is that you will be able to address sovereignty data issues. I didn't know, and I researched some time ago, that today there are more than 16 countries that require something similar to GDPR, so the privacy that is really a law in Europe. Okay, other than in Europe, there are more 16 countries. I think there is more now. So what happened is that the government is asking or demanded that you keep the data, personal data, in the area, in the country. Okay, so having cloud solution servers in all of these countries may not be feasible, but you have a solution that you can keep the data, for example, with a Tago Core in that country, that can save a lot of problems. So we deployed this architecture. So with a Tago Core, you can process the data, you can store the data, you can use the connectors that you have. So there are a lot of things like you have in the cloud, more in a light version. And you can install this in different hardware. In Linux, Apple, for example, you can run on a Mac or Windows. So you install the software, you build your application, and you can gain advantage of this processing, probably at no additional cost. Of course, depending how much data were processed. Okay. This diagram here is very simple, but I think it covers very well what I talk about, right? So you start from the sensor. Where you put this Tago Core is close to the sensor. So if you have a manufacturing line, for example, you can even run this in a Raspberry Pi or another industrial hardware that you run, for example, in Linux or Windows. You store the data locally, let's say inside of the company, of the industry, keep the data there, process the data, and then you send it to the cloud, synchronize, in this case, with TagoIO, just the data that you want. Let's say that you process 1 million data per hour. You don't want to send 1 million data per hour to the cloud. Okay, that's really, again, can be very expensive, and why you're going to expose all the information from your company. So you send to the cloud only what makes sense. Why you're going to send to the cloud? One reason is maybe you want to push a notification to the user and say, hey, there is a problem here and there, or you want to synchronize this data with another region. And then you can take advantage the model that I mentioned before, run, to give visualization of the data for your users. So all this part is done. You just need to install Tago Core and run locally. One thing that is very interesting is that you can show data to your user without keeping the data on TagoIO. So you can keep your data inside the manufacturer line or keep in your country and just present this data to your user. Of course, everything will be encrypted, so it's very secure. We thought about how to deploy this to different kind of hardware. So we are not only think about deploy this for a computer, a Mac, or a personal computer, but also you can deploy the Tago Core in local industrial computer. For example, we are working with Siemens, Aeon, and Dragino, and you'll have somebody here from Dragino. I highly recommend you stop by and take a look at their products, because they have, for example, a LoRa 1 gateway, and there is capability to run your own Linux code. So it's basically free. So we install Tago Core on this Dragino gateway, and we can process a lot of data locally. So I think that's really nice. So we are provide support for different kind of hardware. How we are doing that is basically create plugins. That I think will be a very good advantage. So we already create a lot of plugins to connect with a different type of a database. If you use SQL, if you use Postgres, Oracle database, or also different network server, we already created these plugins. So make it very easy for you to create applications and send to other part of your system. For example, we created here a plugin for Domo. You can do big analytics here using Tago Core. You store all data there, you process data locally, and then you can add a little bit more intelligence to your system. And that's very nice, because we work a lot to have this solution so that you can install in a hardware. But we knew that having this running just in one, let's say, core would not be enough. So we create the possibility to connect in multi-instances. Basically, I talk about a cluster. So when you have the software, you can install, for example, not only in one BlackBerry, one computer, you can run on the cloud. So now we are giving the possibility for our customers to use their own cloud or run on-premise. Okay, let's talk about cloud, for example. It means that you can get this code, install by yourself on Azure, Google, or AWS, your own account, you pay the bill, you manage there, data is there, you manage everything. You take care about everything. And if you want to take advantage of visualization, notification using TagoIO, Tago Run, and you send it to TagoIO only the information that you want. Again, remember, there is no cost. It's a free software. So you can run your account, and you'll be charged just per transactions for the data coming from your cloud to TagoIO, what frankly normally is not much, because you're going to keep most of the data locally. So we created this possibility. It's already up and running. You can download the software and make the tests evaluate. We are currently in the beta version with several customers deploy normally internally the solution so they can test, evaluate, and see the performance. Also, we create a lot of reports, evaluate different hardware to understand the pros and cons of the solution going for multi-instances or just one core. So you can get more information. Take a look at the Tago Core. If you just Google Tago Core or go to our website, you should be able to see how you can build the solution by yourself. You can get the templates. All the things that today, this afternoon, we are going to have a webinar, technical, where Matt is going to present how to install Tago Core, what's the benefits, how to connect with the plugins, and they will be able to see some solutions up and running right away. So I really encourage those who really want to take a look on this new version, because it's something that I believe is going to bring a lot of value. So take advantage of this and provide feedback. Also, we create a, inside our community, we have one section just for Tago Core. So we are able to make comments, suggestions, and even request features. Okay, that's what I have for the part related to the features that we are working on.
You just looked at me like I was going to do a pop quiz. It's coming on. Yeah, it's on. You got it. When I was walking up the stairs, you looked at me like I was coming up with a pop quiz, which I am. We had a couple questions that were submitted, but I want to make sure we have time to get to the product roadmap piece. I know I'm really excited about that. A quick housekeeping item. After the product roadmap piece, we are going to take a break, and we'll be back at 1 p.m. Eastern, which is when we'll return. But we're going to do the roadmap next. Before we do that, I'll just ask the first question that came in. It was when you were talking about the reports. Somebody asked if they were customizable. I heard you say that they could be, branded, but how customizable are those reports?
Yeah, it's very customizable because you can even apply CSS. That's basically you can change all the colors, the size, format, and everything. You have nice documentation to explain about that.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to step back down so you can get right back to the product roadmap, and then we will have some time for additional questions after that. So if you have any questions from this section, if you're online, you have some questions, go ahead and submit them. We'll keep track, and we'll ask that after your next section.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about the roadmap. I think it's very important when you meet situations like that, so we share about not only what you have done so far, but what you're planning to do, right? So I'll talk about the three things only that I think very interesting. One thing that we've been working very hard is to make easier to control critical access. So basically I talk about access management. We already have access management, so that it means that you can go inside the platform and determine who owns the data, okay? So you have a user, and you associate the sensor with the user. For example, you may have a company that owns all the data, then you start to split the data internally and say, okay, for this site, I have only this information, and for that address, I have less information. So we really define. What we're creating new here is the ability to add authorization inside of the scripts. Because the script is for us, what we call analysis, is a big deal, because that's where you add intelligence. You can add machine learning, AI, or maybe sometimes just simple calculation, but that's where the intelligence is. And today our challenge is that, frankly, is a developer challenge. They need to get the token input inside of the scripts. What we are doing is making easier so that they can define, okay, I have this algorithm that is doing the calculation, and I want them to access these devices. So they don't need to get and copy the tokens. The other thing that we're doing, we're very excited, is help companies and people driving more actions from the data that they are getting. You can run machine learning, you can run calculations, you can do a lot of things inside our platform today, but we don't offer a tool for that. Okay, if you have the code, get the code there, you'll be up and running, work nicely. So we are working with companies like Domo, and they are here. Travis, somewhere, he's here, he can talk to you. We are getting a connector with them so that you can easily export the data so that it can be processed. Big amount of data, it can bring results for you. So that's something that customers have been asking for us. So we decide we are not going to add these analytic tools. There are great companies out there. We're going to make easier to integrate with them. And the third one that's really nice, and mainly talk about TagoIO, is give ability to synchronize all the buckets, we call buckets the local database, with the cloud. We have the ability to do this through scripts, what take a little bit of time, frankly, but we want to make it much easier so that you can press a button and can synchronize the data that is inside your local edge with the cloud. And what is nice is that it's not only that you can synchronize from one edge to the cloud, but then you can synchronize from that cloud to other device. Of course, we don't have time to talk about all what you have in our roadmap. That's why we are releasing today our roadmap. So we are making available to the public, to everywhere, take a look about the key things that we are planning or that we already work on. So you can discover, of course, what we're doing, what our plan. You can also follow, you can subscribe, engage, and give feedback. Other thing you can do is request new features. So sometimes people send emails to us or open a ticket, that's nice. But if you go there on this link, TagoIO/roadmap, you can see a button like suggest or request a feature, and also you can vote for features. If you go there now, you can see what you're planning, for example, for the rest of this year and for the next year. We're going to keep as much as we can there. So that's what we have in terms of roadmap, Sarah.
Okay, so I'm back with a couple more questions. The first one relates to a question that I asked Tiago, and I'm going to pass it on to you. It was about all things open. So the question was, what events are you going to be at? What events are coming up? How can people stay connected? And I had asked Tiago, where can people see you at All Things Open? Are you going to be speaking?
Okay.
Will you have a booth?
Yeah, no, we're not going to be speaking. That will be our first participation because All Things Open is about open source. And because we are releasing Tago Core, we are going to be start to participate more in this community, open source. So we are going to have a booth. I don't know where exactly it will be, but you'll be there with a booth, open source. And we are very excited. It's here in Raleigh. We attended one time, but not as a sponsor. This time we're a sponsor.
Fantastic. So people can definitely find Tago at All Things Open. The other question was, can you share, are there going to be more opportunities like this one? So other TagoIO Connect events.
Yeah, we were talking about that before, not only with you, Sarah, but also with some partners here. Just send some ideas, and for sure, we are going to have at least once a year, like this one. That is something that covers globally with online participation. And then we are also planning to have others that potentially are going to do co-event. For example, if there is an event in California, we're checking opportunity to be one day earlier there and do with you in that region. That's one thing that we want to plan for next year. So if you go to the website, TagoIO/events, you should be able to see which events are coming next.
Fantastic. I really am going to try to earn a blue shirt so I can go on this road tour with you. Those are all the questions that I see online for now. Any questions in person for Fabio? Okay, great. Well, I think we're in a good spot. Fabio, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you.
A couple housekeeping items as we transition to close our main track. We want to share a few important reminders. The first, the reminder that you can win those AirPods. There is that giveaway, but only those who are registered can win. So if you are watching through streaming and you haven't heard the reminder yet, make sure to register. And if you didn't register before, that's okay. You can still go on the website and register, and you'll be eligible to win those AirPods. When we come back in the afternoon, we will again be opening up the chat and looking for questions. If you are watching the recorded version, we encourage you to check out the website for other opportunities to connect and submit your questions. You can visit the Tago website at tago.io. We also want to share another thank you to the sponsors. This event would not be possible without the sponsors, so a big thank you to each of the sponsors. Here's a look at what to expect for our next portion. The conference is going to reopen at 1 p.m. Eastern with 2 available tracks. Please keep an eye on the agenda on the website just in case something needs to get moved around. But otherwise, you can expect to see these great sessions here in the afternoon. Thank you for all of you who attended our main track sessions, and we look forward to seeing you again at 1 p.m. Eastern.